commentator. She served as the U.S. representative for Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District from 2013 to 2021. Gabbard was the first Hindu member of Congress and also the first Samoan American voting member of Congress. She ran for the Democratic nomination in the 2020 United States presidential election, but did not secure the nomination. Gabbard is known for her progressive stances on issues such as healthcare and environmental policy, as well as her anti-interventionist foreign policy views. Tulsi Gabbard is an American politician, United States. Tulsi Gabbard criticized Kamala Harris during the Democratic primary debates in 2019. Gabbard accused Harris of perpetuating a punitive criminal justice system during her tenure as California's Attorney General. She highlighted Harris's record of prosecuting marijuana cases while allegedly laughing about her own past marijuana use. And she pointed out Harris's opposition to policies like body-worn cameras for police officers and her office's handling of evidence that could have exonerated a death row inmate. Gabbard's criticisms were part of a broader debate about Harris's criminal justice record, which has been both defended and criticized by various observers. Kamala Harris responded to Tulsi Gabbard's criticisms by dismissing them, questioning Gabbard's credibility and pointing to her low polling numbers in the presidential race. Harris suggested that Gabbard was attacking her record to gain attention, referencing Gabbard's history of meeting with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, which was controversial. Harris also defended her record as Attorney General of California, emphasizing her efforts on criminal justice reform, including initiatives to address recidivism and to help former offenders reintegrate into society. Harris's campaign argued that her record showed a commitment to progressive reforms and public safety. The accusations leveled at Kamala Harris by Tulsi Gabbard and others are based on aspects of Harris's record as California's Attorney General and District Attorney of San Francisco. Here are some of the key points of contention. 1. Marijuana prosecutions. Harris oversaw a period during which her office prosecuted numerous marijuana cases. Critics argue this was hypocritical, given her later support for marijuana legalization and her past statements about marijuana use. However, it's important to note that marijuana prosecutions were common at the time, and Harris has since changed her stance on the issue. 2. Body-worn cameras. Harris did not support a statewide mandate for body-worn cameras for police officers while serving as Attorney General. She argued that the decision should be left to individual police departments. This stance was controversial, given the growing calls for police accountability. 3. Evidence and wrongful convictions. One of the most significant criticisms involved the case of Kevin Cooper, a death row inmate. Harris's office opposed advanced DNA testing that could have potentially exonerated Cooper. Harris has stated that she was unaware of the specific decisions made by her office in this case, and has since called for the DNA testing to proceed. Before criminal justice reform, Harris has also been criticized for defending convictions obtained through prosecutorial misconduct and for supporting policies that resulted in high incarceration rates. However, she also initiated several reforms, such as creating a reentry program to reduce recidivism and supporting a statewide recidivism reduction initiative. While these criticisms have factual basis in Harris's record, supporters argue that they do not fully. Kevin Cooper is an inmate on death row in California, convicted for the 1983 murders of 4 people in Chino Hills. His case has garnered significant attention and controversy due to claims of innocence and allegations of mishandling and tampering of evidence by law enforcement. Key points about Kevin Cooper's case. 1. Crime and conviction. Kevin Cooper was convicted in 1985 for the brutal murders of Doug and Peggy Ryan, their 10-year-old daughter Jessica, and 11-year-old Christopher Hughes, a friend of the Ryan son, who survived the attack. Cooper was sentenced to death. 2. Claims of innocence. Cooper has maintained his innocence, and his defense team has argued that he was framed by law enforcement officials. They allege that evidence was planted and key pieces of exculpatory evidence were ignored or destroyed. 3. Allegations of evidence tampering. Over the years, there have been numerous allegations of evidence tampering, including the mishandling of blood samples and the failure to test other potential suspects. 4. Calls for DNA testing. Cooper's legal team and various advocates have called for advanced DNA testing of evidence that was not available at the time of his trial. They believe that modern DNA testing could exonerate Cooper. 5. Involvement of Kamala Harris. As California's Attorney General, Kamala Harris's office opposed certain efforts to conduct advanced DNA testing on evidence from Cooper's case. This opposition has been a point of criticism, especially highlighted by Tulsi Gabbard during the 2020 Democratic primary debates. However, Harris has since expressed support for DNA testing in Cooper's case. 6. Support for Cooper. Cooper's case has attracted significant support from activists, legal scholars, and public figures who argue that he did not receive a fair trial. In 2018, California Governor Gavin Newsom ordered an independent investigation into Cooper's case, including the potential for new DNA testing. Kevin Cooper's case remains a contentious and highly debated issue, highlighting broader concerns about the criminal justice system, wrongful convictions, and the use of the death penalty in the United States. Kevin Cooper is an inmate on death row in California, convicted for the 1983 murders of 4 people in Chino Hills. During the 2020 presidential campaign, Joe Biden would have been aware of the criticisms and controversies surrounding Kamala Harris's record as a prosecutor, as these issues were widely discussed in the media and during the Democratic primary debates. Despite the criticisms, Biden selected Harris as his running mate, indicating that he believed her strengths and qualifications outweighed the controversies. Biden has consistently expressed confidence in Harris's abilities and has praised her work on various issues, including criminal justice reform, healthcare, and her efforts in the Senate. Biden likely considered several factors in his decision. 1. Policy alignment. Harris and Biden align on many key policy areas, such as healthcare, climate change, and economic reform. 2. Experience. Harris's experience as a U.S. senator and former Attorney General of California brought significant legal and legislative expertise to the ticket. 3. Representation. Harris's selection represented a historic choice, as she became the first female, first Black, and first South Asian Vice President of the United States. Biden has acknowledged the need for criminal justice reform and has included it as a key part of his administration's agenda. This suggests that while he is aware of the criticisms against Harris, he believes in addressing those issues through comprehensive policy changes rather than viewing them as disqualifying factors. Overall, Biden's choice of Harris as his running mate and subsequent vice president reflects his belief in her capabilities and his commitment to addressing criminal justice issues as part of a broader reform agenda. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris have shown policy alignment on several key issues that were important during their campaign and continue to shape their administration's agenda. 1. Healthcare. Both Biden and Harris support expanding access to healthcare and have advocated for strengthening the Affordable Care Act, ACA. They aim to provide a public health insurance option and lower the cost of prescription drugs. 2. Climate change. They share a commitment to addressing climate change through comprehensive policies. Both have supported the rejoining of the Paris Agreement, investing in clean energy, and setting ambitious targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions. 3. Criminal justice reform. While Harris has faced criticisms for her record as a prosecutor, both she and Biden have advocated for criminal justice reforms. They support ending private prisons, eliminating mandatory minimum sentences for nonviolent crimes, and investing in rehabilitation and reentry programs. 4. Economic policy. Biden and Harris align on policies aimed at building a more equitable economy. This includes raising the minimum wage to $15 per hour, supporting unions, and implementing tax reforms to ensure that the wealthy and corporations pay their fair share. 5. Education. Both have supported policies to increase funding for public education, make community college free, and address student loan debt. They aim to invest in teachers and improve educational opportunities for all students. 6. Racial justice. Biden and Harris have emphasized the need to address systemic racism and promote racial equity. They support measures to combat discrimination in housing, employment, and the criminal justice system. 7. Immigration. They share a vision for comprehensive immigration reform, including providing a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, protecting dreamers, and ensuring humane treatment of asylum seekers and refugees. 8. Foreign policy. Both have advocated for restoring alliances and reasserting U.S. leadership on the global stage. They support multilateralism, strengthening NATO, and addressing global challenges such as pandemics and climate change through international cooperation. These policy alignments reflect their shared values and goals, which have guided their administration's priorities and legislative efforts. Republican views on these key policy areas often differ significantly from those of Democrats like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. 1. Healthcare. Many Republicans oppose the expansion of government-run healthcare programs. They have typically advocated for repealing or significantly altering the Affordable Care Act, ACA, favoring a more market-based approach to healthcare that emphasizes competition and private sector solutions to reduce costs. 2. Climate change. Republicans generally prioritize economic growth and energy independence, often supporting the fossil fuel industry. While some acknowledge climate change, they typically oppose aggressive regulatory measures like those proposed in the Green New Deal. Instead, they advocate for technological innovation and an all-of-the-above energy strategy that includes renewables alongside traditional energy sources. 3. Criminal justice reform. While there is some bipartisan support for certain criminal justice reforms, Republicans often focus on law and order policies. They may oppose efforts to reduce mandatory minimum sentences or to end private prisons, emphasizing the need for strong policing and criminal penalties to maintain public safety. 4. Economic policy. Republicans favor lower taxes, particularly for businesses and high-income individuals, believing this stimulates economic growth. They often support deregulation to encourage business investment and innovation. Many Republicans also prioritize reducing the federal deficit and oppose large-scale government spending programs proposed by Democrats. 5. Education. Republicans generally support school choice initiatives, including vouchers and charter schools, believing these provide better educational opportunities through competition. They often oppose federal involvement in education and advocate for more local control. They are less supportive of proposals for free college tuition and large-scale student loan forgiveness. 6. Racial justice. While many Republicans acknowledge the need to address racial disparities, they often focus on individual responsibility and equality of opportunity rather than systemic changes. They may oppose affirmative action and certain police reform measures, emphasizing support for law enforcement and opposing what they see as divisive identity politics. 7. Immigration. Republicans typically advocate for stricter immigration enforcement, including building a border wall, enhancing border security, and reducing illegal immigration. They often oppose providing a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants and support policies to limit legal immigration, emphasizing national security and economic concerns. 8. Foreign policy. Republicans generally prioritize a strong national defense and support robust military spending. They often favor unilateral actions and bilateral agreements over multilateral organizations like the United Nations. They emphasize confronting adversaries such as China, Russia, and Iran, and maintaining strong alliances with key partners like Israel. These views represent broad trends within the Republican Party, but it's important to note that there is diversity of opinion within the party on many issues. Certainly. Here's a list of key issues, along with the contrasting positions of Democrats, Biden and Harris, and Republicans. 1. Healthcare. Democrats. Expand access to healthcare. Strengthen the Affordable Care Act, ACA. Provide a public universal basic income, UBI, is a policy proposal where all citizens receive a regular, unconditional sum of money from the government. Implementing a UBI could impact the key issues in various ways. 1. Healthcare. Impact of UBI. Democrats. A UBI could improve overall health by reducing financial stress and enabling individuals to afford basic necessities, which may reduce healthcare costs and improve public health outcomes. This aligns with Democrats' goals of expanding access to healthcare. Republicans. While some Republicans may argue that a UBI would increase government spending, others might see it as a way to simplify welfare programs and reduce bureaucracy, potentially aligning with their preference for market-based solutions and efficiency. 2. Climate change. Impact of UBI. Democrats. UBI could support individuals transitioning to green jobs by providing a financial safety net. It may also enable people to make more sustainable choices in their daily lives. Republicans. If UBI reduces economic pressure, it might lessen resistance to environmental regulations and changes. However, concerns about the cost of UBI and its impact on economic growth could be points of contention. 3. Criminal justice reform. Impact of UBI. Democrats. A UBI could reduce crime rates by alleviating poverty-related stressors that contribute to criminal behavior. This aligns with Democratic goals of reducing incarceration rates and focusing on rehabilitation. Republicans. Some Republicans might support UBI as a way to reduce dependency on welfare programs and potentially lower crime rates. However, others may be concerned about its cost and its impact on personal responsibility. 4. Impact of UBI. Democrats. UBI aligns with Democratic efforts to reduce income inequality and support the working class. It could stimulate economic growth by increasing consumer spending. Republicans. Opinions may vary. Some might see UBI as a way to streamline welfare and reduce administrative costs, while others could view it as an unsustainable increase in government expenditure. 5. Education. Impact of UBI. Democrats. UBI could help students afford education and reduce student loan debt by providing a steady income stream. This complements their goal of increasing access to education. Republicans. UBI might reduce the need for some education subsidies, aligning with their preference for reducing federal involvement in education. However, cost concerns could still be a major issue. 6. Racial justice. Impact of UBI. Democrats. UBI could address systemic economic disparities affecting minority communities, promoting racial equity. This would support broader Democratic goals of addressing systemic racism. Republicans. Some Republicans might see UBI as a way to provide equal opportunity by giving everyone the same financial start. Others might argue it does not address the root causes of inequality and prefer targeted measures. 7. Immigration. Impact of UBI. Democrats. UBI could improve the economic stability of immigrant families and support their integration into society. It aligns with their comprehensive immigration reform goals. Republicans. There might be concerns about extending UBI to non-citizens and the potential for increased immigration. Some Republicans may support UBI for citizens only to control costs and address national security concerns. 8. Foreign policy impact of UBI. Democrats. UBI is primarily a domestic policy, but improved economic stability at home could strengthen the U.S. position globally by reducing domestic unrest and focusing resources on international challenges. Republicans. While foreign policy is less directly affected, a strong economy bolstered by UBI could support a robust national defense and international presence. However, cost concerns might lead some Republicans to oppose UBI if it is seen as diverting funds from defense. Overall impact. Economic stability. UBI could provide a safety net, reducing poverty and financial stress, which may have positive ripple effects across multiple policy areas. Cost concerns. The main point of contention would likely be the cost of implementing UBI and its impact on the federal budget and taxes. Democrats may be more willing to explore funding mechanisms, while Republicans might prioritize fiscal responsibility and efficiency. UBI's impact on these issues would depend heavily on the specific design and implementation of the policy, including funding sources and the amount of the basic income provided. During his presidency, Donald Trump did not seriously advocate for or implement a universal basic income (UBI) policy. However, there were a few instances where the concept of direct payments to citizens gained attention. 1. Stimulus payments. In response to the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Trump administration, along with Congress, approved several rounds of direct stimulus payments to Americans. These payments were a form of emergency financial relief rather than a true UBI, as they were one-time or temporary measures rather than a consistent long-term income guarantee. 2. Public discussions. While Trump himself did not advocate for UBI, the idea gained some attention during the pandemic as a potential solution to economic instability. Andrew Yang, a Democratic presidential candidate in the 2020 election, brought significant attention to UBI with his Freedom Dividend proposal, which promised $1,000 per month to every American adult. This discussion influenced public discourse, but it did not translate into a policy endorsed by Trump. Number 3. Economic philosophy. Trump's economic policies generally favored tax cuts, deregulation, and traditional welfare programs rather than a universal basic income. His administration focused on measures aimed at stimulating economic growth and job creation, rather than providing unconditional cash payments to all citizens. Overall, while direct payments were made to Americans during Trump's presidency as part of the COVID-19 relief efforts, these measures were not indicative of a shift toward UBI. Trump and his administration did not pursue UBI as a long-term policy solution. Yes, Switzerland held a national referendum on universal basic income, UBI, on June 5, 2016. The proposal was to provide a guaranteed basic income to all Swiss citizens, but it was overwhelmingly rejected by voters. Key points about the Swiss UBI referendum. 1. Proposal details. The proposed UBI was set at 2,500 Swiss francs, approximately 2,500 USD per month for adults and 625 Swiss francs for children. 2. Campaign. Proponents of the UBI argued that it would provide financial security, reduce poverty, and allow people more freedom to pursue education, caregiving, or entrepreneurship. They also highlighted the potential benefits in a future where automation might reduce the availability of traditional jobs. 3. Opposition. Opponents, including the Swiss government and most political parties, argued that the UBI would be prohibitively expensive and could disincentivize work. They were concerned about the financial sustainability of the program and the potential for increased taxes to fund it. 4. Result: the proposal was rejected by 76.9% of voters. Only 23.1% voted in favor, indicating strong opposition across the political spectrum and the general public. Reasons for rejection. Economic concerns. Many voters were worried about the high cost of the UBI and the impact it would have on the Swiss economy. The government estimated that the program would cost around 208 billion Swiss francs annually, requiring significant changes to the tax system or cuts to other public services. Work incentives. There was a widespread belief that providing a guaranteed income might reduce the incentive for people to work, potentially leading to labor shortages and economic inefficiencies. Cultural factors. The Swiss culture values work and self-reliance, and there were concerns that UBI could undermine these values. Impact and continuing debate. While the Swiss referendum resulted in a clear rejection of UBI, it sparked international interest and debate about the concept. Other countries and regions have continued to explore UBI through pilot programs and studies to understand its potential benefits and drawbacks. The Swiss vote highlighted the complexities and challenges of implementing such a policy on a national scale. Yes, Switzerland held a national referendum on Universal Basic Income, UBI, on June 5, 2016. The proposal was to provide a guaranteed basic income to all Swiss citizens, but it was overwhelmingly rejected by voters. Key points about the Swiss UBI referendum. 1. Proposal details. The proposed UBI was set at 2,500 Swiss francs, approximately 2,500 USD per month for adults and 625 Swiss francs for children. 2. Campaign. Proponents of the UBI argued that it would provide financial security, reduce poverty, and allow people more freedom to pursue education, caregiving, or entrepreneurship. They also highlighted the Andrew Yang is an American entrepreneur, lawyer, and political candidate who gained national attention during the 2020 Democratic presidential primaries. He is best known for his advocacy of Universal Basic Income, UBI, which he termed the Freedom Dividend. Key points about Andrew Yang. 1. Universal Basic Income, UBI. Freedom Dividend. Yang's signature policy proposal was to provide a UBI of $1,000 per month to every American adult, regardless of income or employment status. He argued that this would help counteract the economic disruptions caused by automation and artificial intelligence, which he believed would lead to significant job losses in various sectors. Funding. Yang proposed funding the Freedom Dividend through a combination of measures, including a value-added tax, VAT, on goods and services, closing tax loopholes, and redirecting existing welfare programs. Number 2. Entrepreneurial background. Yang founded Venture for America, a nonprofit organization that aims to create jobs in American cities by fostering entrepreneurship. The organization places recent graduates in startups in cities with struggling economies to help spur job growth and innovation. 3. Campaign themes. Automation and the future of work. Yang frequently highlighted the impact of automation on the American workforce, predicting significant disruptions in industries such as manufacturing, retail, and transportation. Human-centered capitalism. Yang advocated for a shift towards what he called human-centered capitalism, which emphasizes the well-being and economic security of individuals over traditional economic metrics like GDP. Number 4. Presidential campaign. Yang's 2020 presidential campaign gained a dedicated following known as the Yang Gang. His campaign focused on innovative policy ideas and his outsider status, leveraging social media and grassroots support. Although Yang did not win the Democratic nomination, he qualified for several debates and brought significant attention to issues like UBI and the future of work. 5. Post-campaign activities. After suspending his presidential campaign, Yang remained active in public life. He endorsed Joe Biden for president and later ran for mayor of New York City in 2021, though he did not win the primary. Yang continued to advocate for UBI and other policies through various platforms, including his nonprofit organization Humanity Forward, which supports UBI pilots and other initiatives. Andrew Yang's advocacy for UBI and his focus on addressing the challenges posed by automation have made him a prominent figure in discussions about the future of the economy and work in the United States. Indeed, several countries and regions around the world have conducted pilot programs and studies to explore the potential benefits and drawbacks of universal basic income, UBI. Here are some notable examples. Finland, pilot program, 2017. Participants, 2,000 unemployed Finns aged 25 to 58. Payment, €560 per month unconditionally. Results. The study found that while the UBI did not significantly increase employment, it did improve participants' mental health. Andrew Yang proposed several methods to fund his Universal Basic Income (UBI) plan, known as the Freedom Dividend. Here are the key components of his funding strategy. 1. Value-added tax, VAT. Implementation. Yang proposed a 10% V on goods and services. VAT is a consumption tax levied at each stage of production and distribution, which is common in many other developed countries. Revenue. The VAT is projected to generate significant revenue by capturing a percentage of every transaction, including those by large tech companies and other corporations that may otherwise minimize their tax liabilities. Number 2. Savings from existing welfare programs. Integration. Yang suggested that the Freedom Dividend could replace certain existing welfare programs and reduce administrative costs. Individuals receiving benefits like food stamps or disability payments could choose to continue receiving those benefits or opt for the $1,000 monthly payment. Efficiency. By streamlining various social safety net programs into a single, unconditional cash payment, administrative overhead would be reduced. 3. Economic growth. Stimulation. Yang argued that the Freedom Dividend would stimulate economic growth by increasing consumer spending. With more disposable income, people would spend more on goods and services, thereby boosting local economies and creating jobs. Multiplier effect. The increased spending would lead to higher demand for products and services, which would, in turn, generate more tax revenue and economic activity. 4. Reduction in costs associated with poverty. Healthcare savings. Reducing poverty could lead to lower healthcare costs as financial stress and related health issues decline. Crime reduction. Providing financial stability might reduce crime rates and associated costs, such as law enforcement and incarceration expenses. Education and productivity. Financial stability could improve educational outcomes and workforce productivity, leading to long-term economic benefits. 5. Closing tax loopholes. Corporate taxes. Yang proposed ensuring that large corporations and the wealthy pay their fair share of taxes by closing loopholes and enforcing tax compliance. Capital gains and other taxes, addressing preferential tax treatments for certain types of income, such as capital gains, to ensure a more equitable tax system. 6. Technology and automation. Capturing gains. As automation and technology companies generate substantial profits, the VAT would ensure that these companies contribute fairly to the economy. The idea is to capture a portion of the economic gains from technological advancements to benefit society as a whole. 7. Carbon fee. Environmental impact. Yang also suggested a carbon fee to address environmental concerns and generate additional revenue. This fee would be levied on companies based on their carbon emissions, encouraging more sustainable practices while providing funds for the UBI. Revenue estimates. Total cost. The estimated cost of providing $1,000 per month to every American adult, approximately 250 million adults, is around $3 trillion annually. Projected revenue. The combination of a VAT economic growth, savings from welfare programs, and other measures was projected by Yang's campaign to cover the cost of the Freedom Dividend. Yang's funding strategy for the Freedom Dividend was designed to balance new revenue streams with cost savings and economic growth to make UBI financially feasible. While the proposal sparked significant debate, it brought renewed attention to the potential benefits and challenges of implementing UBI on a national scale. We have covered a variety of topics in our conversation. 1. Tulsi Gabbard and Kamala Harris. We discussed Gabbard's criticisms of Harris's record as a prosecutor, Harris's response, and whether the accusations were factual. 2. Kevin Cooper case. We explored details of the Kevin Cooper case, including allegations of evidence tampering and Harris's involvement as California's Attorney General. 3. Joe Biden's knowledge and beliefs. We considered whether Joe Biden was aware of criticisms against Harris and his rationale for selecting her as his running mate. 4. Policy alignment between Biden and Harris. We looked at their alignment on key policy areas such as healthcare, climate change, criminal justice reform, economic policy, education, racial justice, immigration, and foreign policy. 5. Republican views on key issues. We contrasted Democratic policies with Republican perspectives on these key issues. 6. Universal Basic Income, UBI. We discussed the potential impact of UBI on these issues, its funding methods, and specific pilot programs and studies conducted in various countries to understand UBI's benefits and drawbacks. 7. Andrew Yang and UBI. We reviewed Andrew Yang's advocacy for UBI, his freedom dividend proposal, and his funding strategy. These discussions covered a range of political and economic topics, focusing particularly on UBI and its implications, as well as detailed aspects of political figures and their records. In New Zealand, discussions around Universal Basic Income, UBI, have also gained attention, particularly in the context of addressing income inequality, poverty, and the changing nature of work due to automation. Here are some key points about the UBI debate in New Zealand. Political and public discourse. 1. Advocates. Various political figures, academics, and activists in New Zealand have advocated for UBI. The Green Party of New Zealand has shown interest in exploring UBI as part of their broader social welfare and economic policies. 2. Public opinion. Public opinion on UBI in New Zealand is mixed, with some supporting the idea as a means to provide financial security and reduce poverty, while others are concerned about the cost and potential disincentives to work. Pilot programs and studies. 1. Feasibility studies. There have been calls for feasibility studies and pilot programs to evaluate the potential impacts of UBI in New Zealand. These studies would examine various aspects such as economic sustainability, social outcomes, and administrative challenges. 2. Local initiatives. Some local councils and organizations have expressed interest in piloting UBI programs to gather data and understand its potential effects on communities. Economic context. 1. Income inequality. New Zealand, like many countries, faces challenges related to income inequality and poverty. Proponents of UBI argue that it could help address these issues by providing a basic level of income security for all citizens. 2. Automation and future of work. The increasing impact of automation and technological advancements on the job market has spurred interest in UBI as a way to ensure economic stability for individuals who may be displaced by these changes. Political positions. 1. Green Party. The Green Party has been the most vocal about exploring UBI. They see it as a potential solution to social and economic challenges, advocating for studies and pilot programs to test its feasibility. 2. Labour Party. The Labour Party, currently the ruling party, has not officially endorsed UBI, but has shown interest in social welfare reforms and policies that address poverty and inequality. 3. National Party. The National Party has generally been more skeptical of UBI, expressing concerns about its cost and potential negative impacts on work incentives and the economy. Potential benefits and drawbacks. Benefits. Poverty reduction. UBI could provide a safety net, helping to reduce poverty and financial insecurity. Economic stability. It could provide economic stability and stimulate consumer spending. Simplification of welfare system. UBI could simplify the welfare system by replacing various targeted benefits with a single, unconditional payment. Drawbacks. Cost. The main concern is the significant cost of implementing UBI and how it would be funded. Work incentives. Critics argue that UBI might reduce incentives to work, though evidence from pilot programs is mixed. Implementation challenges. There are logistical and administrative challenges in implementing and managing a UBI program. Ongoing discussion. The conversation around UBI in New Zealand continues to evolve, with ongoing debates about its potential advantages and disadvantages. The impact of COVID-19 has also intensified discussions about economic security and the role of government in providing financial support to citizens. In summary, while New Zealand has not yet implemented a UBI, there is significant interest and ongoing discussion about its potential role in addressing social and economic challenges. Feasibility studies and pilot programs may be key steps in determining whether UBI could be a viable policy for New Zealand.